In a small, sun-drenched barrio nestled between emerald rice paddies and the shadow of Mount Mackling, lived a woman named Althea. Her heart was as vast and open as the sky above. If a neighbor needed a cup of rice, Althea would give them the whole sack. If a traveler asked for shelter for a night, Althea's home would be theirs for a week. Her kindness was a legendary song sung by everyone in the village, a warm blanket on a cold night. Althea owned a small mango orchard, a legacy from her parents. The trees were old and gnarled, but they bore the sweetest and most golden mangoes in the entire province. Every harvest season, her baskets would overflow, and every season, she gave most of it away. She'd see the children with hungry eyes and fill their small hands. She'd see the weary farmers and offer them fruit to quench their thirst. She never asked for anything in return. Her joy came from the smiles she received, the grateful nods, the feeling of being needed. One year, a severe drought choked the land. The rivers ran dry, the fields cracked under the relentless sun, and a quiet desperation began to settle over the barrio. Althea's mango trees, with their deep, stubborn roots, were among the few that still produced fruit, though not as abundantly as before. People started coming to her, not just with requests, but with demands. "Althea, my family hasn't eaten in 2 days," one would say, their voice laced with an edge she hadn't heard before. "Althea, we need more than just a few mangoes to survive," another would insist. Her heart ached for them. How could she say no? So she gave, until her own pantry was bare. She gave until she had only a handful of mangoes left for herself, which she planned to sell at the market to buy rice and other necessities. As she was packing the last of her precious fruit, an old friend, Lena, came to her. Lena's face was etched with worry. "Althea, my youngest, is sick with fever. The healer said he needs fruit, something sweet to give him strength. Please, can you spare some?" Althea looked at the small basket, her ticket to her own survival for the week. Then she looked at Lena's desperate eyes. Without a second thought, she handed the entire basket over. "Take it all," she whispered. "Your son needs it more." Lena wept with gratitude and hurried away. That night, Althea went to bed with a stomach that growled with hunger. But her heart, she told herself, was full. The next day, weak from lack of food, she tended to her trees. She noticed a neighbor, the same one who had demanded more mangoes, hacking off a large branch from one of her trees for firewood. "What are you doing?" Althea cried out, rushing over. The man didn't even look ashamed. "We're cold, Althea. You have so many trees, you can spare one branch." He said it not as a request, but as a statement of fact, as if he were entitled to it. Before she could protest further, another family began setting up a makeshift shelter under her largest mango tree, their presence encroaching upon her land. Days turned into weeks. Althea grew thinner, her own clothes hanging loosely on her frame. The people she had helped no longer saw her. They saw only what she could provide. They took her mangoes without asking, broke branches for their fires, and treated her orchard as their own. The smiles and grateful nods were gone, replaced by a sense of entitlement. Her kindness had become an expectation, her generosity a resource to be plundered. One afternoon, as she sat listlessly under a wilting tree, Lena came to see her. She brought a small bowl of rice porridge. "I'm so sorry, Althea," Lena said, her voice soft with shame. "We took too much. We all did. We were so blinded by our own need that we didn't see we were destroying you." Althea looked at the small offering, her eyes filling with tears. It was the first act of kindness she had received in a long, long time. She realized then that her boundless giving hadn't saved the village. It had only taught them to take. Her selflessness had not empowered them, but had instead crippled her. In that moment of painful clarity, Althea understood. Kindness, true kindness, is not about emptying yourself for others. It's not about letting your own well run dry to fill someone else's cup. True kindness must also be extended to yourself. It requires boundaries. It requires the wisdom to know when giving helps and when it enables. It requires the strength to say no, not out of selfishness, but out of self-preservation. From that day on, Althea began to rebuild. She started setting boundaries. When people came to take fruit, she would say, "I can spare 2 for your family, but the rest I must sell to feed myself." When they tried to take her wood, she would firmly state, "These trees are my livelihood. You cannot destroy them." At first, people were angry. They called her selfish, a changed woman. They had grown accustomed to her endless giving. But slowly, as Althea began to care for herself and her orchard again, a strange thing happened. Forced to find other solutions, the villagers began to help each other. They pooled their resources. They foraged together. They learned to rely on their own strength instead of just Althea's. Althea's orchard began to heal, and so did she. She still gave, of course. Her heart was still as vast and open as the sky. But now, her kindness was guided by wisdom. She gave from her surplus, not from her substance. She taught people how to plant their own seeds instead of just giving them her harvest. Her story became a new legend in the barrio, a quieter but more profound one. It was a tale not just of a kind woman, but of a wise woman. It taught a vital lesson that echoed through generations. Be kind, be generous, but never light yourself on fire to keep others warm. For a candle that burns itself out can no longer offer light to anyone. Your first duty of kindness is to keep your own flame alive. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales that make us think. Stay kind, stay wise, and never forget these are the stories we live by.